Hey guys, it's Sandal from Substance Over Style here, and welcome to a new video. So check me out, I'm in beautiful Lahore in Pakistan. I'm just here I was here for Bridal Week, which just finished last week. It's been epically busy, and I've just decided to stay for an extra week to visit some family and do some extra shoots and stuff like that. But yeah, it's Sunday morning today, and I thought I would record a video for you guys because I've got a little bit of time. I'm so sorry that I haven't been recording many videos recently. I've been so fucking busy with modelling and setting up my business as well, which I will announce later when it's all ready. That I just haven't had time to do YouTube videos. So yeah, my channel has been feeling a bit neglected, but I thought this was a really important topic to talk about, and especially because my last video that I recorded in America, in DC, where I was talking about the sacred feminine, I wanted to do another follow-up video where I talk about the divine masculine. And I think this whole Me Too campaign that's been trending is the perfect opportunity to talk about it, because I am seeing the divine masculine awakening in so many men at the moment, and it is a beautiful sight to behold. And Lord, are we ready for it? Like, we have been waiting for this, and I'm really glad to see that it's happening now. So for those of you that aren't familiar with the Me Too campaign, have you been living under a rock? What's going on? It's been all over my social media. Literally, like, almost every single woman I know has been posting about Me Too. Basically, it was created. Oh, excuse me. So the Me Too campaign was started in 2007 by a black feminist called Tarana Burke. And it was started to help young sexual assault victims in communities of colour who have less access to sexual assault support services to kind of, lend support to one another and show that they have also, been victims of sexual assault, and they see and they hear and they support each other. So it's kind of a way for communities to come together in light of a lack of support services. And now it's kind of been co-opted in the wake of the Harvey Weinstein allegations, just to kind of, it was created as a hashtag just to show how widespread the problem of sexual assault and sexual harassment really is. And I've seen on my, I don't know about you guys, but I've seen on my Facebook newsfeed, almost every single woman is posting about it, because, and this hasn't come as a surprise to me, because, every girl that I speak to about some of my experiences will say, yeah, I've been coerced, and they wouldn't even put, some of their give some of their experiences the R word, because society gaslights women so much to the point that we don't even recognize some of our experiences as being completely unacceptable and totally illegal. Never mind the fact that, if you actually go to the police with most of, most rape allegations, it's usually you that will be put on trial rather than your attacker. And if you look at the conviction statistics, they are appallingly low. Less than 10% of rapes are actually reported, and even less than 10% of that even result in a conviction, because blurred lines and all of that. I think a lot of rapists would not even call themselves that, because they probably don't even realise that they're rapists. They just think that maybe they were a bit pushy, but eventually, they managed to convince her or whatever. So, I don't want to go too much into detail about that, because it can be quite triggering. Also, I don't really want to be talking about my personal experiences. Everybody else has got an experience like this, so every other woman that I know anyway. So I'm not going to go too much into that. If you want to know about that, then talk to the women in your lives about their experiences and hold space for them in a really non-judgmental, loving way, and see if they're willing to talk to you about it. That's kind of the process of healing that I've had to go through with my own divine masculine counterpart, my partner, who really held space for me and listened to me, and I was able to kind of really process a lot of those experiences and kind of admit to myself that, yeah, they really were not okay, and I should just stop excusing shitty behaviour. So yeah, now to explain the divine masculine. What is the divine masculine? Okay, so for those of you that are not familiar with sort of masculine and feminine energies, of which everything in this world is comprised of, in humans as well, each individual human will be comprised of masculine and feminine energy. So please don't get it twisted. When I refer to divine masculine or the feminine, I'm not necessarily referring to men or women. Hey, Pixie! I'm referring to masculine and feminine energy. So, for example, I am an expression of sacred feminine energy, but I also have divine masculine. Ooh, yeah, my computer. I also have divine masculine energy within me, which I can call upon if I need to, you know, I'll explain. Anyway, I'll explain. So I want to try and make sure that my language is as inclusive as possible. So don't get confused if I refer to masculine and feminine that I mean men and women. I don't necessarily mean men and women, because your biological sex does not always determine what proportions of those energies that you're going to have within you. There are people who are biologically male who have more feminine energy, and people who are biologically female who have more masculine energy. And that doesn't necessarily even mean that you're a trans or non-binary individual, although it can sometimes. It just means that maybe you're a more masculine woman or a more feminine man, and that's totally fine. In this video, when I refer to women, I'm going to try and be as inclusive as possible, but just for the sake of the flow of the conversation, I may not always get to say, but I'm just going to say now that when I refer to women, I'm also including non-binary individuals in that. Okay? So the divine masculine is basically, the role of the divine masculine is as the supporter, the protector, and the defender of the feminine. And what I have witnessed on my newsfeed in the wake of these hashtag Metoo posts is a massive awakening of divine masculine energy in the men that I know who are on my Facebook newsfeed, and it's been really beautiful to witness. I really thought that I was going to see a lot of hashtag not all men posts, which is what I've always previously seen whenever women start talking, having an open conversation about sexual assault or sexual violence or domestic abuse. A lot of not all men, which is really, really not helpful, because the only reason why we have so many issues with sexual violence and with intimate partner violence is because not enough men are standing up against it. Women and non-binary individuals do not have the power to change male culture. Only men have the power to change male culture. And let's be honest, misogyny originates in male culture. Women can also uphold misogyny, believe you me, I've seen that, but it starts with men and it ends with men as well. Like, you guys have the power to change it. So when we say enough is enough and this needs to change, we are calling upon the divine masculine in all men to change the misogyny that permeates male culture. Now, why is it that women and non-binary individuals need support and protection and defension? Why is it that women are calling upon the divine masculine? Why is it that women and non-binary individuals need support and need to be protected and need to be defended by men? Well, because the number one threat to women's safety is men. The number one cause of injury or death to women is men. So let's not get it twisted. We have a problem. We have a problem on this planet, and the problem is to do with how we perceive masculinity. Now, we also have problems to do with toxic femininity, and we can talk about that in a separate video. I'm not going to talk about that now. I've got some little kids throwing stones at me. Do you guys want to say hello? Hello! Hello! Can you see that? Let's hope that's not toxic masculinity awakening in those two little boys throwing stones at girls that they see on rooftops. Anyway, let's carry on with the video. Yeah, so we know that the number one threat to women's safety is men. So who has the power to change that? Men. We've been asking men to change it for a really long time, and we keep getting responses like, hey, not all men, I'm not a rapist, I've never sexually assaulted someone. And it's just like, okay, fine. You may not have. But how often do you call out sexism? Like, these people are not, people who commit sexual violence are not aberrations. They're not total monsters who are outside of society, okay? I've experienced sexual violence, and I can tell you categorically these men are products of their society, and they walk around completely normally. Nobody would even guess that they were sexual predators until they have an experience with them. They are completely supported by their communities. If you look at the case of Harvey Weinstein, it took an entire village to allow him to get away with what he was getting away with. People knew what was going on. They knew what was going on, and they even helped him because he had so much power. Now, unfortunately, male culture is such that, you know, humans are pack animals, just like dogs, just like Pixie here. Hey, Pixie! So, for Pixie, we're part of that pack. Humans are also pack animals. We're supportive parent. Isn't it so beautiful? It's so beautiful. Can you hear me over that? I hope you can hear me over that. I'll come a little bit closer. So we're pack animals, and men in particular, women also have a kind of pack mentality in their social groups, but men in particular will have this kind of, you'll have the alpha of the pack, and then you'll have, you know, all the other members of the pack. The alpha is generally the one who is perceived as being the most masculine. I feel like maybe I should wait till the call to prayer is finished before saying what I need to say. Okay, so I think the most of it is over right now. I can hear some going off in the distance, but that one is not going now. So I hope you can hear me. Where was I? Yeah, so I was talking about, you know, the alpha in the pack is generally the one that is the most masculine. But unfortunately, because our world is run by Satanists, everything is upside down. So what we perceive as being masculine in our society is generally quite a toxic version of masculinity. It's not divine at all. It's the most misogynistic, it's the strongest, most aggressive, most willing to fight you, sleeps with the most women. You know, it's not that really divine masculine as the supporter, the protector, the defender of the feminine, the one who has courage, the one who will stand up for the most oppressed and who will stand up against injustice, the one who will only call upon the divine masculine principle of right action in the world in the case of self-defense, okay? The divine masculine is not about non-violence, but it is about It is and it isn't. It's about non-violence, but not when your rights are being violated or the rights of somebody else are being violated. It's about using the divine masculine principle of courage and right action in the world to defend yourself or those who are being oppressed, those who are more vulnerable. In this case that I'm discussing, women and non-binary individuals who are being repeatedly violated by those who embody toxic masculine energy and who think that misogyny is okay. Unfortunately, we live in a culture that is completely pornified, where female sexuality, which is the generative principle, female sexuality is so powerful, we don't realize, we don't know, okay? We've been lied to so much, but deep down we know, because we wouldn't otherwise be using female sexuality to sell everything from water to deodorant to anything like fashion and just women's bodies in general. Like, you know, everybody says prostitution is the oldest profession, you know, in the world. It's because humans have been enslaved since the beginning of time. And what do you sell when you have nothing left to sell? You sell your body. So female sexuality is the most powerful force on the planet. It is that from which all life generates. It's the generative principle. And so the masculine role is to protect and defend and support the feminine so that she can create life, okay? And the female sexuality is not for everybody, okay? It's not just for everybody to just have a go at. But unfortunately, we live in a culture that's very pornified, and female sexuality, like I just said, I'm repeating myself now, has been commodified and has been used to enslave women and keep us subservient to men. the reason why men do not challenge misogyny in male culture is because they benefit from it. As much as people would not want me to say that, you benefit from it, because by not calling out men for their misogyny and for their sexism, other men, it keeps women subservient to you. So, you know, it keeps women dependent on you. So I'm in Pakistan at the moment, okay? And Pakistan, in many ways, I find that I actually get more respect here as a model. For example, I'm always given a private place to change, never expected to change in front of men, unlike in Europe. When you're a model in Europe, your body is, you're like a prostitute basically. If they've hired you, your body is for hire and they can do what they want with it. So if that means not giving you a private place to change, so be it. You know, we ain't got time for you to be running off to some private changing area. You just get changed now because we've got a lot of changes to do. That's not the case here. Like, we're always given a private place to change. Models here are never expected to take their clothes off for the sake of a picture. Like, you know, women's modesty is much more respected, and I like that. I personally like that. As somebody who has modelled in this industry for 12 years and has modelled all over the world and has modelled lingerie, has modelled nude, I like the fact that people respect my body and the fact that my body is my own and that they don't show entitlement over my body. Okay, so, but unfortunately Pakistan has other problems where it's not safe for women to go out on the street at certain times of the day or night without a male escort. So in many ways men benefit from not calling out misogyny, because that means it keeps women dependent on them. If we are going to see a healing of the problems that we face on this planet, then we are going to need to actually see the divine masculine awakening so that women can feel safe to do the work that they came here to do. Women as the holders of the wisdom, the healers, the creators of life, and just the creators of everything. Like, feminine energy is the source of all creation. So not just women, but anybody who embodies feminine energy, men also, you would be calling upon your sacred feminine every time you are creating anything. So the masculine needs to make you feel safe enough to do that. And unfortunately, misogyny is basically has been suppressing the feminine, because it's been suppressing the sacred feminine principle of care, which men also have. So anytime a man wants to stand up against misogyny or wants to stand up for those who are oppressed, and let me also say that misogyny is at the root of homophobia and transphobia as well, because anything that is deemed feminine in this world is seen as weak and therefore is oppressed. So that is why we need to actually reshift this perception of masculinity in our society, because the feminine is not weak. The feminine is very strong. Creating life with your body, that is fucking magical, and that requires a lot of strength and a lot of fortitude. So we need to change our perception of what femininity is. And yes, okay, it is physically weaker. Women are physically weaker than men, and that's why we need men to support us and defend us. But apparently, if I'm to say that we need men to actually call out misogyny in male culture, and we need men to actually start protecting us, then that's unfeministic, that we shouldn't need a man to protect us. I'm sorry, but like, we clearly do, because men are just running rampant, just assaulting women, feeling entitled to their bodies, and something needs to be done about it. And the only thing that can be done is men need to actually change their attitudes. If anybody wants to know more about this, I really, really recommend that you read a book by Jackson Katz. It's called The Macho Paradox, and in it he discusses how men can embody more divine masculine energy. He doesn't call it that though, because he doesn't come from a spiritual perspective. He's an anti-violence educator, and he I don't know if you, I'll give you a link to his TED Talk where he talks about how men's violence against women is not a women's issue, it's a men's issue, because it's a men's issue and men need to change it. So he talks about how women have been suffering at the hands of men since the beginning of time, and it's time for men to start to reframe what masculinity is, because calling upon the divine masculine principle of courage and actually standing up against your peers when they are displaying sexism or misogyny, when they're slut shaming, or when they're engaging in other, sexist practices, looking at very disgusting, misogynistic, violent, pornographic images, which are perceived as totally normal in our Western society. That it's totally normal that men look at these disgusting images of violence against women. It's just fine. It's totally normal that men celebrate the fact that they're getting married to a woman by going to the strip club with their friends and just, giving money to prostituted women to oh, it's fine, this is tradition. We have a problem with misogyny in our world. It's not just in this country, it's in the West as well, okay? And it's different in both countries. I find that in Pakistan, women get treated better in a lot of respects because there are those gender roles at play, and men have a responsibility and they recognize their responsibility to protect women, which is we just do not have in the West. It's kind of just oh, you're equal now, so you can look after yourself. No, I'm sorry, we're not equal. We're still being violated, we're still being preyed upon, and it's up to you guys to do something about it. So if anybody's offended by this video, I really don't give a fuck. I'm here to speak the truth and I'm here to defend the truth. So yes, like I was saying, if you want to know more about this, definitely read The Macho Paradox. It's a fucking great read. It will make you very angry, but sometimes anger is good because it motivates you into calling upon that divine masculine principle of right action in the world and courage and self-defense and actually changing the things that are wrong in our society. So I think I'm going to leave it there. If you want to share your comments, if you have any questions, leave them in the comments box below. Please share this video with your network because I think it's really important that we start talking about these things and we start actually having an understanding of what sacred feminine and divine masculine is, and we start embodying these energies. I'm going to go now because I've got two little twerps over there who keep on staring at me and they're putting me off a little bit. So thanks so much for watching, guys, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.
बुरे वे वतन माहिदा दूरे होए जाना।